Year 5. Welcome to another online learning lesson. I hope you're well, and I've enjoyed seeing some of you at school this week. I do believe this is going to be our last lesson, so I thought we could do some English. As we normally do, we're going to start with some spellings. But this week, I'd like to give you a spelling tip. Can you see here we have the verb to practice, and we have the noun the practice. Can you see that the verb ends in se and the noun ends in ce, but they sound the same? It can be really confusing to know which spelling to choose. Here's a tip which might help you. In school, when we're marking sentences, we sometimes put an S over the subject of the sentence because the subject's doing the verb. This might help you remember that the verb to practice ends in se. You could also think that concrete is a noun or a thing and it begins with C. This might help you remember that the nouns end in ce. This rule could be applied to other pairs of words, such as license. Okay, for our writing task today, I thought we could look at your skills in persuasion and develop the art of persuasion. Do you remember that persuade means to convince or urge someone to do or think something? And it does take a bit of skill. When you're going to persuade, you need to organize and structure your thoughts or your text or your writing. You need to make some good choices about language. And there are some sneaky, successful techniques that you can use to help you. And I'd like to share those with you. You might have found yourself in your life sometimes making a demand such as, I want an ice cream, or a statement such as, we must save the koalas, or a question such as, could we please stop using so much plastic? But I wonder how effective your persuasive powers were if you wanted somebody to join with you or do what you wanted them to do. Persuasion is usually organized in a certain way. It starts off with introducing the topic and some facts. It moves into a section where arguments and key points are developed, and it ends with some form of conclusion with some very persuasive either questions or phrases. And if we think about ice creams for this piece of writing and the idea of trying to persuade someone to buy an ice cream, the facts might be ice creams are special treats, they're bought only occasionally, and they're used for celebrations. The arguments might be developed to say that ice creams are healthy, they're made out of dairy products, they keep people cool, and such a snack keeps people's spirits high. And the conclusion might use a rhetorical question. Do you remember rhetorical questions aren't questions that need an answer? They're questions that raise a thought and make the reader or listener think. And the conclusion usually repeats something to hammer home the persuasive point. Let's have a look if we were thinking about trying to persuade someone to buy an ice cream. Remember I said there were some sneaky techniques or good languages that could be used, choices of languages. Here you've got some persuasive phrases. These are phrases that affirm for the listener something to make it sound as though it's accepted. Surely, clearly, without a doubt, and so on. I'm sure you now agree that. These are really persuasive when they're within a speech. Here's another little sneaky technique. I call it the power of three, usually used with adjectives, and sometimes you can use alliteration within this trio of adjectives. Thinking about ice creams, you could say they were tasty, terrific, tongue-tastic. You might choose non-alliteration, smooth, cooling, soothing, small, tempting, healthy. And I'd like to say as well that Persuasion has quite a positive tone and a very polite tone to invite the reader or listener to agree. Finally, here's another technique. Remember, we talked about rhetorical questions, those questions that just raise an idea. They're not meant to be answered. For ice creams, one of these might work. So, I wonder whether, can I persuade you to buy me an ice cream? I'm going to try, and I've written a little speech. Would it be possible to have an ice cream? Ice creams are a fantastic invention. Most people know that we eat them at special times, and they're a great way to celebrate family times or moments of joyful friendship. It's clear that ice creams really cheer us up. The wonder of ice creams is that they're tasty, terrific, tongue-tastic treats, which are so healthy because they're made of fresh, delicious dairy. I'm sure you agree that, as a snack, ice creams are the perfect way to keep our spirits up when we're out and about. Clearly, there's a time when an ice cream is an absolute must, and I think you'll agree that this is the time for an ice cream. How could you resist such a tempting treat? Would it be possible to have an ice cream, please? Well, I wonder if I've persuaded you. Let's have a look at the techniques that I used in my speech. Read my introduction, which just introduced the key facts about an ice cream. The last sentence says, it's clear that ice creams really cheer us up. Can you see some very positive language about ice creams, some positive word choices? You might have seen fantastic invention, special times, great way, celebrate, joyful friendship. All of those are really positive. They're making people think, oh, yes, I think they sound great, these ice creams. Can you see the persuasive phrase I've used? It's clear that ice creams really cheer us up. That's just in my introduction. Let's have a look at how I've developed the argument. Read this. Can you see the power of three? Tasty, terrific, tongue-tastic. I've even made it the power of four by adding treats at the end. And I've used alliteration there as well. Can you see some more positive language? You might have spotted the wonder of ice creams. Perfect way. Spirits up. These make you feel really positive about ice creams. Can you see my persuasive phrases? I've just chosen one here. I'm sure you agree. Now, I'm using all the techniques that I can think of to make you want to buy me an ice cream. Let's have a look at my conclusion. Did you spot the rhetorical question? How could you resist such a tempting treat? And the direct question at the end repeats my opening question, which is, would it be possible to have an ice cream, please? Can you hear how polite that is? I think you've probably spotted I've used a persuasive phrase, clearly, and another one, I think you'll agree. All in all, I've used all the techniques that we spoke of at the beginning, and you might want to play the film back to make some notes how to organise and which kind of language to choose in your persuasive writing. Your task for this week is this. Can you try the art of persuasion? You might want to write something. Once you've written it, you could try turning it into a speech and try and talk somebody into doing whatever it is that you've written about. You could do a poster, a leaflet, You could choose to present it in another way, perhaps as a live film or as a PowerPoint presentation. Think about a topic. Would you choose food? To persuade mum or dad or someone to buy you a pizza, a takeaway, or another delicious treat? You might have an issue at hand, something you're concerned about, perhaps to do with ecology. You might want to persuade someone to join with you, take action, or contribute to this cause. Maybe there's an activity you'd like to do. You could try and persuade a friend or some of your family to get involved in that activity. Use the structure and the techniques that we've discussed. And I do hope you enjoy developing your art of persuasion. Goodbye.